How to avoid going cold after arguments. I, 25F, recently got married to a wonderful man, 25 meters. We, like all couples, sometimes argue. It's never anything major, just things that come up when you share your space with someone else. What I've noticed is that I'm more likely to go cold if I feel I'm not winning. I'd much rather keep communication open and productive to come to some sort of agreement or resolution, but as soon as I feel I'm coming up to an argument I feel broken. I know that this stems from my childhood, as my mother was very fond of using the silent treatment to resolve all and any disagreements. Are there any tools I can use to improve my communication and keep myself in a good place mentally while having a disagreement? Is therapy the only answer? TLDR. I haven't learned effective ways of communicating while arguing, and instead find myself going cold. Ways to avoid this? There should be no winners and losers in a discussion about a relationship problem, especially in a marriage, or to be more precise, you are playing a co-op game, so either you both win or you both lose. It shouldn't be you against him each trying to get your way. It should be you and him recognizing there is a problem making one of you unhappy and both of you working together to discuss ways to change things to keep both of you happy. A resolution should be one you can both feel alright with.
What do you mean when you say you're likely to go cold? What actual behaviors are you describing?
Do you have some specific examples we can dissect? I'd say arguments aren't that normal for healthy relationships, but we could be using the term differently. Heated or difficult conversations is more what I think is common. The way you describe not winning kind of hints to me that you might not be feeling heard in the conversations. Do you two hug after the conversations?
Look up the Gottman method regarding stonewalling.
Unsure if this has been said, but therapy. You can identify the cause of your shutting down, which is more than a lot of people. This is something you can work through with a therapist to potentially resolve.
Making a guess, but that not winning sense may not exactly be someone 100% agreeing with you, but just acknowledging your point and making you feel heard, so you do something back to not hear or acknowledge him. Silent treatment. You are aware of the feeling of growing cold already, so discuss with your partner during a non-fight time that this is a thing that you feel coming on sometimes, especially when you don't feel heard or acknowledged. Tell him when it starts. You are going to let him know you feel like you are disengaging, so you are going to take some time for yourself to process, then you both can pick it back up. Then it isn't punishing him, but you caring for your needs. Also, he and you can work on better listening to each other.
You end being cold ASAP, but always put it in the past at bedtime and give each other a hug and a kiss goodnight and tell your spouse you love them every night. Another important thing is to choose your battles wisely. Not everything you don't like or disagree with is worth arguing about. Very few actually are.
Are you trying to be cool with being shut down? Is fixing things comfortably a code for, I do all the compromising? Why are you the one who's suffering from losing arguments?
I feel like there's some sort of inconsistency in what you said. You feel cold if you feel like you're losing an argument, but you'd rather keep communication productive. These two things can't go hand in hand. If you're afraid of losing the argument, you're arguing for the wrong reasons. My partner gets defensive in arguments as he was never taught to communicate and was often given the silent treatment as a child. He tends to get very defensive in arguments as he hates feeling like he did something inherently wrong. What I saw made a huge difference for him is therapy and also the way we approach the argument. Perhaps having a conversation about this with your so and telling them how you feel about argument D and being wrong will get them to take that more into consideration. One tip that I can give that helped us a lot is that we have a safe word. Whenever there's an argument approaching, we can say the safe word. Take a break from the conversation and sit there physically touching and confirming our love to one another. It kind of diffuses the argument and turns it into a conversation. Hope this helps.
Well, the very first thing you need to stop doing is arguing to win. If I feel I'm not winning. This is not the approach in arguments with your spouse. You're not on a debate team. You should be trying to better understand each other's point of view in order to be a better couple. Coming to a conclusion that benefits your marriage is what your goal should be.
Nothing wrong with couples therapy for newlyweds. It can just make your bond stronger and help you with your communication.
Info. Did you not live together before you married?
Arguments are difficult. That's just a fact. When you argue, you are voicing your opinion, and when that is argued against, you feel attacked. even though you might realize that you are not. What has helped me and my partner is to take a minute or two, then acknowledge what just happened, e.g. After thinking a bit, I realized that you had a valid point I hadn't considered, and offer to spend some quality time together. Would you like to watch this with me? Would you like to go on a short walk? I know every relationship is different, but for us, showing that same affection after an argument proves to us that we're still a team and we still love each other. Of course, we're talking minor arguments here. Do you think this could be useful to you?
You separate the issue at hand from your partner as a human being.
What I've noticed is that I'm more likely to go cold if I feel I'm not winning. You need to change your perception of arguments. If you feel like you need to win, or you have to get everything on your way, then your partner is gonna start agreeing with you just to stop the argument. You think this is gonna resolve everything? Nope, life doesn't work like that. The best way to get OIT of arguments is looking for solutions. What's best for us, not me, and I tell you this because this is what has worked for me. Also, take time if you need to organize your feelings. Write it down, record a voice note, or simply say, I need some time to think, and when you feel ready, have the convo.
You feeling this way is actually a great step and realization also. Just know that you are completely entitled to your feelings, when you do feel that way. And, you'll always have things that could irk you, or the way an argument goes. Another way to think about it is, do you want someone you love to feel the same way you felt when your mom gave you the silent treatment? Also, what does winning an argument get you? You won, you're right, and you proved them wrong, someone still lost. How do you make it a win-win? You make it you both versus the problem.
Talk to him, make sure he knows you want to work on it so he can work with you. Let him know sometimes you may need to stop to collect your thoughts, emotions on disagreements so that you can communicate clearly and effectively find ways to work together to avoid it feeling like a fight. Maybe you have to sit and make notes so you have something else to focus on and structure your thoughts. Maybe you have to go to separate rooms to think it over and come back calm if it starts to feel like it's too much at that moment. Stop and listen to his side of view and have him stop to listen to yours before interrupting again. Writing notes during it can help so that everyone can have a chance to speak without getting disrupted, but you can still rebuttal things they say when it's your turn. Use kind words, things like, I can see where you're coming from, but this is what I think. Make sure to reassure each other that you're listening to their side and try not to accuse, blame, put down the other side. You're not against each other, you're married. You're a team, both sides matter and both sides have feelings.
Understanding why the other person is upset is so much more important than winning. What worked for me was having the person summarize why you were upset and vice versa. That way, you're both on the same page. I found that sometimes, when we were arguing, we both were talking about different things, or they didn't understand, jumped to being defensive. That has helped so much. Arguing to win versus communicating what bothers you. It's you both against the problem, not you against them.
When I was with my first BF, I always got cold after our disagreements. He smoked that jazz at the time and I didn't. It was a big deal for me at the time. Now I could care less about it. The best thing for me was to just shower. Yeah, getting out sucks, but you'll be clean and warm, washing the negative emotions away, as they might say.
Best piece of advice I could give. Promise each other to never go to bed angry if you can't agree on something or come to a resolution to an argument. As hard as it is to do, swallow your pride. Goes for him as well. And at least go to bed without being upset. 9 times out of 10, by the time morning rolls around, everybody can see how ridiculous or out of hand it got. Just my 2 cents.
I go cold in the middle of an argument because when it hits that point where either one of us are getting loud, I know at that point in time there is not going to be a resolution problem with me, as I go silent and walk away from it, and the issue doesn't get resolved then either, because after the cool down it's let go of for the time being but always comes back up again. Rinse and repeat. I need that book.
I am a therapist and I recommend this book to couples I see and people in my personal life. Such a great book. Love another one of his books, Raising an Emotionally Intelligent Child.
That's a great way to put it.
Wow, that's brilliant. I'll use that.
This is all well and good for many arguments, but sometimes one person is in the wrong, and saying something like this is going to backfire.
Literally not the point of OP's post, but okay.
I suppose it would look like withdrawal of affection, and limited speaking. I can feel myself avoiding touch or being in the same room, and I'd reduce talking to the bare minimum.
Difficult conversations is the best way to put it. We currently have my mother living with us, as she required surgery and normally lives alone, and this has put a bit more strain on day-to-day life. Lately the harder conversations have revolved around division of chores and responsibilities. I don't always feel heard, and most of the time it's more that I don't feel I can vocalize what I actually want to say, as we don't speak in my native language.
Heated or difficult conversations, aka arguments. I'm curious what your definition of that word would be.
Not so much about being cool with it, more like finding a more useful technique for getting back to normal after a difficult conversation. Our communication is healthy, but I find myself slipping into the defense mechanisms my parents used now and again. The silent treatment was a favorite of my mother's, and I'm doing my best to never inflict that on anyone.
Probably means that even though she ideally would like to keep the conversation productive, she instinctively retreats to giving the cold shoulder. Knows she isn't being productive and wants to be better but can't help but shut down in the moment. You can want to be better while still making the wrong choice. It can coexist. Example, an addict can want to be sober while still indulging in their addiction. Wanting to be better doesn't mean you are there yet.
No, we didn't. We were together 8 years before we got married, and have been married a few months.
What's the book for emotionally intelligent child? Had hard times with one already and now raising another who is 10 and struggling.
Yes, it is. She feels like it's an adversarial thing when she argues. With a winner and a loser, this is not the right headspace to be in. It's them against the problem. She should remember that during an argument and/or go to therapy to work through it, especially if it stems from how her parents treated her.
Okay, sorry, one more question. What's the time frame? It can be normal to withdraw a bit, and take a little distance from your partner after an argument, but in that case, you're looking at hours, not at days. Days-long withdrawal of affection and limited speaking is definitely a problem, but it's normal not to want to be lovey-dovey after an emotionally charged argument or discussion for a few hours or so.